recording and convening the work session of the Plan Technical Advisory Committee meeting for November 12th. First up, we have 299 Hanover for a parking CUP. Jeff, if you want to come up.
Okay. I'm Jeff Rocky, owner of the building. Am I supposed to sit down?
Yep, you can sit down.
Well, you're supposed to
And
stand.
hopefully this will be short and simple, because I know I got McNabb behind me, and that's going to probably take hours. But
Pressure's on.
I have a two-story office building that I built we moved in '99, and we're currently on the second floor. Downstairs office is smaller because there's 3 parking spaces under the building. I've had the downstairs for lease for 7 months, and nobody's even sniffing around for office space. So I decided it makes a lot more sense to convert to apartments. I think eventually the whole building will be converted to apartments, but I want to do it one step at a time. What was submitted, and Peter's all aware of all this, what was submitted was my first idea was putting 3 apartments on the second floor and moving downstairs, but it turns out the logistics are kind of horrible for doing that, because there's a ton of work that's got to happen downstairs, and I'd have to bring a commercial sprinkler in rather than a residential sprinkler. So what's in front of you, I know this is just a work session, so this should all be fine, but what's in front of you shows 3 apartments upstairs. What I would like to change and do is 2 apartments downstairs, which could just be built out without disruption of the upstairs. Set up for a residential sprinkler that would then extend upstairs, if we ever did that. But the whole reason I'm here is just because of the parking. In either event, I'm reducing the parking requirement and the parking demand. But apparently, because I'm non-conforming use, I've got to go through the CUP. So that's it. It's just 2 apartments downstairs, replacing office space, reducing parking requirement and parking demand. I'm going to give spaces to the residents downstairs. And I'm hoping that's just a really simple thing. I need to get to a confidence level that this is just paperwork moving forward so I can actually start planning.
All right, thanks.
And I have a meeting with Chanty and Patrick tomorrow, I talked to them before about requirements on the upstairs, and we've switched gears, and I've got a meeting with them, which hopefully goes well and continue on this path.
We've been over there a couple times, just not that it really matters, but not to discuss parking, but just discuss the sprinkler requirements and the separation. I think we're at a point where if it's on the first floor, from a code perspective, it's pretty straightforward. But I don't know what the zoning implications are.
No, I think they're just outside of the downtown overlay, so if he was a block over, he couldn't have residential on the ground floor, but since he's outside of the downtown overlay, it's okay.
Yeah. And not that this matters, but every building around me on that street is all first-floor residential. But it's nice hearing that we're out of that district and don't need a variance.
So you don't have fire suppression now?
Don't have it now. Don't have it now, don't need it to put 2 residences on the first floor.
Oh, okay.
Would need it to put 3 on the second floor because it's a single exit scenario off the second floor, and that only
Good.
works.
Then we're
Yeah.
good. Because the street's still in the moratorium. You can't dig in the street because it's been so freshly redone, so.
Okay.
You say there is a moratorium on the street? So, but you'd be able to run your residential off your domestic? No.
No, but I guess one, yeah.
that?
For the 2 on the first floor, based on the new law that was just passed this year.
You wouldn't need sprinklers.
Right, because I'm assuming each unit would have an exit directly outside.
Yeah.
But I thought you just said that you were going to put a residential sprinkler.
Well, and this will be part of our discussion tomorrow as well, but what I certainly plan to do with the 2 units on the first floor is put all the sprinkler lines and sprinkler heads in the units that would be ready to hook up when we added the 3 units upstairs and,
We can talk about it tomorrow.
yeah.
The
that's-
lines are fine
Yeah,
to put in ahead of time.
Yeah, makes sense.
Stub it out.
Well, that's good, though, that nothing would have to,
Right.
because of the moratorium,
Yeah.
yeah, so.
How long
Can't
is that?
imagine.
How much longer is that, you know?
A year or two more,
A year or two?
something like that.
So Eric Eby's not here, but he did actually speak to Eric Weinrib today.
Yeah.
About the parking demand analysis,
Yeah.
so you might want to follow up with him so he can revise that to reflect.
I have followed up with Eric Weinrib, and he's just sort of waiting for me to get back to him and say, yes, switch gears and go with the downstairs.
All right, well,
So that's going to be updated then, your demand analysis?
Correct.
Okay.
and the floor plans probably.
Yeah.
And the floor plans?
Yeah.
yep.
Yes, yeah. We already have floor plans for the downstairs, but again, the meeting tomorrow, I've got some questions that could affect them a little bit, but.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there's much more we need to do,
Yeah.
unless you have questions for us.
No, I guess just for Peter, so I won't need to go to another TAC work session for the downstairs.
Not another work session, though.
But I would-
We want to see that as part of the CP, that TAC has to review the parking demand analysis,
Yeah.
so.
So I would go to whenever the next available TAC and planning board would
Right.
be.
TAC.
TAC,
Independent.
Yeah.
You'll be back
independent.
here, but not for a work session.
Right.
For a formal.
For a formal.
Yeah, with the
Yeah.
revised,
With the revised
Analysis, yep.
application, revised demand analysis, and revised
Yep.
floor plan, yeah.
correct.
Great.
Okay. That it?
Yeah, that's all.
All right.
All right.
Sounds terrific.
All right.
Good luck, you guys. Good luck as smooth as mine.
All right.
I don't think this one's smooth.
Next up, we have 21 Congress Street. Welcome.
Hey, all set?
Yeah.
Wish you to do the introduction.
Oh, sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. John Chagnon from Haleywood. With me today is Mark McNabb, developer, Tracy Kozak, project architect, and Terrence Parker, project landscape architect. We're here for the 1-15 Congress Street work session, getting a jump on getting your feedback for the plans. The project is continuation of the one Congress approval, which went through the entire process, and we just, Mark acquired the adjacent lot, and the major change to the one Congress previous approval is that the building is going to now connect up on the west side with the J.J. Newber building, and there were some changes in the second floor uses. Do you want
Yeah, I
Oh,
go
just
from here?
wanted to, just to, Mile High, how we got here is we were close to getting a building permit for one Congress that went through TAC Planning Board approval. That's the parking lot of the Rudy's building in the front when the opportunity to buy J.J. Newberry came up. So that's why we paused, then decided to come forward and merge and combine these lots and connect them to share a core. Essentially, J.J. Newberry is built on the lot line, and we're not adding to the building. It's got facade changes, and it's got internal change of use on 2 floors. Our utilities are fine in the building. So essentially, we're here with the one market you've already seen, which our utilities are all done for, and J.J. Newberry, which we don't, at this point, need to add anything. We just wanted to let you know that change of use on the upper floors is what we desire to do. Right now, it's office space. In this process, also, at the end of Haven Court narrowed to an 8-foot strip. About 2 weeks ago, we put Gillies under contract to buy it. So now we will have, to be able to, will allow us to widen Haven Court to the full width that we want it to be, the whole length. So that's essentially why we're here, is just to make Haven Court a handicap accessible now. The hill will be gone, and combine and merge these lots. if we didn't need to combine and merge the lots and need planning board for allowing a 36,000 square foot footprint and a CUP for the parking, we wouldn't need to be here otherwise. So John can go over all the specific details, but I think maybe unless there's questions, you're just seeing the one Congress as it existed before. High Street improvements that we're doing, Ladd Street improvements that we're doing. That's all under a memorandum of understanding with the City Council. And the city and us understand what's happening in Haven Court. So I think it might just be easier to open it for questions instead of walking through the plan, unless you want John to walk through the plan.
I don't know.
It might be
We can
helpful to
walk
walk through the plan.
Walk through
Yeah,
the plans?
what you added to it
Okay,
would be helpful.
sure.
Want to do it?
So the cover narrative talks about the things that we changed. It talks about the One Congress building, which I just mentioned. J.G. Newbury is going to be the adaptive reuse of the existing building. The plan that you have up there is the proposed site plan. And when we went through the process previously, we had High Street improvements as a part of the plan set, but we, at one point in the TAC process, we took out the Ladd Street improvements and did a separate track for that. These plans now bring those back in, so they'll be a part of this planning process, so we can work through the utility issues in Ladd Street and anything else that comes up. The J.G. Newbury building, upper floors are going to go to residential. The first floor will stay the same uses. Fleet Street will move from office to retail uses and possibly restaurant. The Haven Court, what was known as Haven Court, is going to be renamed Newbury Way and lowered so that we can enliven the back of the J.J. Newbury building. If you want to go up briefly back to the cover for a second, Peter, got the project team, and then the next sheet is a boundary survey for One Market. But the next sheet, as part of this project, we're doing a lot line relocation. The blue area is going to go into One Market Square LLC, and the red is going to go to the city of Portsmouth, and then that creates the new combined development lot, which is 41,933 square feet. That plan shows the existing conditions of the block, the entirety. Doesn't show Ladd, but it shows the development block and with all the notes and survey references. There's an orthophoto plan next, a demolition plan. So just like we did before, the back of the One Congress, the wood frame part is coming out, no change there. Parking lot's coming out. We've added removal of the pavement and lowering the grade in Haven Court, and some minor other changes to facades. On the other building fronts, there's an alley that is there between 55 Congress and J.J. Newbury, and we're going to redo that alley. This is a project site zoning sheet. So here's where Tracy has listed the parking demands and every unit sizes, so you can get to the parking spaces, the total number of bedrooms, the analysis, which includes the deductions for downtown overlay and bicycle parking, and the bottom line is that the we're going to provide 21 spaces where 53 or so are required. Those numbers will be finalized for the submission, but we'll also be coming back for a conditional use permit for the parking. So there'll be 2 conditional use permits. One would be building size, total building size, because the lot has expanded so much. It exceeds. And there's an interesting question about the zoning that I had looking for some feedback on. I don't know how we addressed this last time, but the parcel is in 2 zones, the combined parcel, CD4 and CD5, and they have different open space requirements. So I think what we talked about potentially is, let's say we had a 20,000 square foot lot and 10,000 was 10% and 10,000 was 5%, then you'd have to be 7.5% of the total lot. Would that make sense? Like a prorated kind of?
I'm trying to remember how we did it before. I feel like the part that was zoned CD5, you showed that 5% was in that area. I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we did that because the front part of that one Congress, which is CD5, is entirely building, so
No open space.
it would have no open space.
Because once the
So-
lots merge and combined, it just has to be on the lot. The calculation is really what you're after. Just as reference, though, we make the most restrictive on the whole thing. So I think it's an exercise that we're just trying to direction, right, John? I don't believe.
So we're and I'll get to the open space calc, but we just want to know if we have to meet the 10 or if we can prorate it for the entirety. There is impervious surface calcs in the top there, top of the page towards the left side, and then there's an open space calculation. And the difference being that we are providing some porous sidewalks within the project. So we've done a sidewalk note similar to what we did at 581, where the impervious walkways are 2,504 square feet. Currently, the porous walkways are 2,835 square feet. The total walkways then are 5,339, of which more than 50% is porous. So in the open space calc, we have a 0 for sidewalk. And currently, we have to update the numbers, but we're well above, but we got to look at the designs and refine some of the porous, non-porous sidewalk.
Yeah, we'll have to look at it in more detail, but it sounds like it's going to be a matter of semantics more than so you comply.
Just how to calculate it so that we
Yeah.
Yeah.
do it.
Just want to look at some other projects we've done,
Yeah.
similar issues.
All right, so maybe we can meet before the deadline and,
Yep.
or just exchange an email.
Pervious curbs as well?
No, probably not. 0 for curb, right. Yeah, we got to adjust that. Yeah. We just sort of went through the process, and we'll have to make some adjustments for sure, yeah. There is a change that we need to make to this sheet, the building height diagram,
All orange.
the orange goes down, and it goes back to there, yeah, so we're going to adjust that, yeah. I figured somebody in planning would notice that. The next sheet is the proposed site plan, so at the ground floor level, if you look at the left side coming up the Newbury Way off of Fleet Street, you'll see that there's street level, what would we call those, Tracy? The indentations, stoops? No, yes, stoops. So there's entrances that come off so that you don't have to worry about door swings going into the pedestrian way. Then as you get to where the one Congress previous building is extended into the Newbury building, there's a recessed entryway, and that's going to be the main entrance for the stair tower, combined stair tower? Or is that serving both buildings, right?
It will serve both buildings. The idea is the residents of the 15 Congress use that primarily. The residents of 1 Congress use the High Street entrance, and the retail restaurant folks use the Congress Street entrances.
Just by way of reference, though, the entire project, Merchant Combined, has 3 main entrances, one off Congress Street, one off Newberry, and one off of High Street. There are-
Probably has a fourth off Fleet, too, right?
Retail entrances.
Retail entrance on
Okay.
one fleet.
Yeah.
Right,
But the
sorry.
3 main entrances have full stair towers to the roof and elevators.
And I think you can get up between all 3 buildings.
Excuse
Either
me?
of those entrances get used in all 3 buildings?
They don't, the 10 High Street does not connect to, it connects, but you can't come from the JJ Newberry and go that way. The JJ Newberry can, but that one can use everything. So some you can go.
Okay.
Obviously, every single floor has use of 2 stair towers and 2 elevators.
And I think by go that way, there's a emergency door or a locked door one way or the other, right?
Correct,
They
stair
are-
towers.
They are
Yeah,
connected.
yeah.
You can go through it, but you just can't come back.
Exactly.
Through it, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
So Terrence has done some designs for the street paving materials, which is further in the set. It shows the extent of the work. And the next sheet is grading and drainage, which we will, there is a grading plan after this plan, further in the set that blows it up to another closer detail so you can see more of the grading. Then the next sheet is utilities. As Mark mentioned, the bulk of the utility reworking is in High Street and Ladd Street. J.J. Newberry's does not really need to have utility upgrades. I did forget to mention on the grading and drainage plan, we're showing a drainage connection to Fleet Street for the under drains for our porous walkway on Newbury Way. That will need to be coordinated as it's
Oh, That's
proposed.
where the porous is. So, okay,
Yeah,
that's going to have to be detailed very carefully.
yes, yep.
And even though, I mean, John, even though JJ Newberry at this point doesn't have utilities, we all know and are working with the city and Eversource, they'll have stuff that wants to go through Newberry Way to complete Eversource circuits and improvements they want, some of them associated with Fleet Street that are extensive. Some of them are associated with deficiencies Eversource has with the 55 Congress building, which has a transformer built into the building, which Eversource doesn't even know how they would replace it if they had to. So there's a bunch going on in their utilities that is unrelated, but we have given the city of Portsmouth an easement through all of Haven Court to run whatever they need, and we'll be working with Eversource to allow completing of primary circuits and things that they want to enhance the whole block. So there will be utility work, we just not for us, JJ Newberry per se.
Well, let's talk about that just for a second. I thought the gas company had a line servicing Newberry's in that.
Off of Fleet Street,
They have a short line.
Yep.
short line.
Yeah.
So I don't see that on the proposed utility drawing.
Well, again, it should be under
Correct.
existing, Don.
So what we're showing, David, is the, as Mark mentioned, we know that Eversource wants to loop up to the transformers at the garage. And there was an issue there with corridor width because of the narrowness of the ownership as you got towards Fleet. Now that Mark has Gillies property under agreement, we're freeing up some corridor space. So We show on the plan, I believe, a gas connection directly into the J.J. Newbury from Fleet Street.
Where are you going to put the meter?
That's a good question for Tracy, but
You mean we show a new one? It's existing. We don't have a new gas. I mean,
we're moving it to the.
We're moving
We
it
would
to
move it to Fleet Street.
Yeah.
And come right off.
meters would
Fleet
all
Street.
be in the basement right there that is in the basement now. There's a basement space right in the corner of Haven Court and Fleet Street, and those meters are down those stairs right in that basement area.
Right, because it's on low pressure right now.
Correct.
So they want
Correct.
to switch over.
Correct.
So we'll probably, I can include you, David, we'll set up a meeting with the gas company and Eversource again to talk about
Yeah.
that connection.
I'm sure they're going to want to move that meter assembly outside,
When they go to high pressure, probably, yeah.
intermediate, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And, we would like to see them run high pressure all the way down Haven Court to make it available down on High Street as an improvement to the block.
Yes.
We don't need it, but we support it, and we would accommodate it.
So
and try
right
to-
now, you're showing under drains on both sides of that alleyway?
Yes.
So,
I'll explain that when we get to the landscape plan and show you that.
so this double line that's not in line with parking garage, but not where the existing wall is the proposed new wall? Is that what that is?
That's the,
Tell, it doesn't look like they're quite finished on the,
yeah, yep, that was the extent, there's a wall there and a toe, so yeah, we're working on that part, and
I figured.
now that we have more access to that property.
Yep.
The other thing, David, is that, big utility vault, that connection vault,
Yeah.
really kind of gets in the way of coming out with the under drains and such, and the gas. So we'll maybe look to move that a little bit to the northwest.
Yeah. Okay. I got you. That, it's just putting porous pavement on a slope, even though it's 3.5% now, is, I don't know if you recall what happened over by the bread box in that project. It was a very considerable
Right, yep,
terracing that had to happen because of the nature of the porous pavement. So
right.
it's, is that required?
I suppose to meet the open space requirement, it might be more prudent to not do it, and we're in a downtown environment.
Not to do it, if
Yeah.
it's possible.
What type of porous are you talking about, David?
Anything that's porous is going to require, because of the nature of the ground, it's going to require.
Just because of the
Otherwise,
slope of the
you don't do it right,
underlying
then
material.
Water will pop out of the ground through the porous. You know what I mean?
Down the slope.
Yeah. You gotta do it just right.
What was that percent you referenced, 3.5%?
It's the plans.
It's the
say
street grade.
2.5. Right.
Street grade.
Usually porous is more suited to flatter ground,
Yep.
but if it's required because of zoning or something, I don't know, but it's just gonna be
Yeah, I think we just have,
gonna be
I
very problematic to deal with.
think what is it, we're just keeping the porous to 51%? Or,
Well, right now, I think we're at 57, and we can narrow the porous because we have some elbow room.
right, so we keep it above 50 so that you can count it in the open space. If you go below 50 zoning ordinances, you can't count it in the open space. Is that-
Right, but he's talking about the practicality of the
No, I understand
application.
what he is.
And so,
We can lower it, we can add more back to bring it
the
down
other
to
thing we
50.
can do, because actually Haven is all pavement now, and there's a parking lot, so maybe we can
Yeah,
look
I mean-
towards
It's not gonna-
calculating.
It's not gonna infiltrate. It's just
Right.
not. So.
Yeah,
it's really-
right.
It's really kind of.
It's got to be under drained, so.
It's
Counterintuitive, but you're right.
putting icing on a cake that you don't really need necessarily. It's not gonna do anything.
Because in the impervious surface calc for the existing, it came out to 98%, so maybe we can just take the tack that we're not increasing, work towards not increasing the impervious surface. And,
Yeah, if there's places
You know,
that it makes sense, that
you
are
know,
flat, then maybe you do it there.
if
to get a
that's,
little bit.
right, something we can get by without having to go to the zoning board, that would be probably the best of all worlds.
The south alley is really flat, so that's more conducive to porous.
So if you look at Ladd Street too, David, I'm showing the water line going up along the building, as we discussed.
Yep.
And then redoing the sewer. And there's notes about, or there will be notes about discovering and reconnecting all the services.
Yep. We can get through all those things.
Okay, beautiful.
I think in general that we're fine with the plan. We just need to finalize the utilities then.
Great. Then we have some detailed grading plans, so you can see, and what we plan to do is just also add in all the constraints. So with the change in the street elevation, taking out the curbs and all that, we're not going to get to 100% ADA with all the stoops and steps, you know, but we'll show you where steps have to remain and that kind of thing.
Right. Well, we'll be building it to the UDAG rules. Right. Anything else on the street, we can build to the UDAG standards.
UDAG,
So those are a little more flexible.
Urban Development Action Grant Standards, is that what that stands for?
I'm not sure exactly what it stands for, but it's a little different from ADA.
So we are able
They just
to,
enacted it.
okay.
So.
It'll meet ADA. All primary entrances will be fully accessible.
Oh,
It's just
sure.
the
And all new building
secondary-
entrances would be.
Yeah, the new building, we're talking about,
Discussing is older entrances on other buildings.
yeah. For example, in Ladd Street, the clip joint,
Right.
there's no way that you
No, there's no way.
can make that
Nope.
ADA, you know.
You do the best job you can
Right.
and move on.
Yep,
A bit better than it is.
and we'll look up the UDAG standards, yep. Then there's and we'll look up we'll work with you.
Yeah. Call Mark Batchelder. He can give you the link, and
Okay, yep.
that way it saves you a bunch of time.
Great. We have a profile for Newbury Way, planning profile, and it's a little different than the previous in that we're flattening it out for the garage entrance. The one Congress, just like before, there's a car elevator, which is entrance now of the Newbury Way. Then there's the architectural plans, some floor plans. I don't know if you want to pause there and Shanti ask questions at this point or move through.
On the architecture,
No, not today. I'm
Yeah.
not going to have a lot of questions. I'm going to have to spend more time on. I'm sure Pat will as well.
Yeah.
It's too much to take in right at the moment. And
Yeah.
I'll admit, I didn't realize. I thought this was more of just a lot merger, but I thought we'd already kind of gone through this at one point in time. What we talked about.
We have. but,
Yeah.
The merger of the property with Newbury and the acquisition of Gillies has changed the application a little bit.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things that
Sure.
they need us to do. And granted, with the holiday and stuff, a lot of us didn't actually get a chance to, I mean, I at least read the intro letter this morning, so I kind of understand what's going on, but.
HDC has approved this
Yep.
as it's presented.
Spend some time there.
And I mean, for the purposes of TAC, I'm not really sure that, at this point, it's nice if I'm able to weigh in, but it's not crucial. You guys could move forward to the planning board, and then when it comes time for building permit review,
Right.
But it's nice if we don't have to iron any kinks out later on down the road. I get it. You know.
Well, the building permit review is really the project you've already gone knee-deep on, which is the One Congress. J.J. Newberry's going to follow One Congress. You're not going to see a building permit. We couldn't put the whole block under construction, so we're treating it as one whole project and going forward, but it won't be executed that way.
Right.
You'll see us
Break it
build
apart.
the 20 months construction schedule for Haven Court and One Congress, which you've already seen.
Yeah.
J.J. Newberry part would come after all of that. So we're down the road for you to see actual plans for apartments and stuff in the J.J. Newberry part.
Yeah.
Is it going to remain 2 buildings?
No,
It'll be 1 building for.
that's primarily why we're here, so that we can combine core and shell. It will be merged, the 2 lots, J.J. Newberry and One Market.
It'll be one parcel.
One parcel.
Yeah.
Might be considered
Two buildings or one
There's
buildings.
different construction types,
Gotcha.
so it'll be firewalls.
We'll have to take a look at that, right?
Right. So do you know if it's going to be, if you're trying to keep it for building permit purposes, 2 buildings or 1 building? Is that
For
decision-
building, it's 3 buildings as far as the IBC is concerned. Because the existing buildings are 3B and the new construction on the parking lot is type 2B.
Okay. So it's going to be
So we have-
3 separate buildings.
Well, no, because they did say they were going to communicate. They were going to have doors that actually connect. Therefore, not,
Fire doors.
that would negate the definition of having 3 separate buildings, because you have an opening.
Correct. There'll be 1 building, but there'll be different types of construction. Like Treadwell Mansion has, 3B in front and
Yeah.
2A in back, or 1A. But this one won't be, so like when the new building goes up in the parking lot, it won't blow through into J.J. Newberry. So J.J. Newberry comes forward, and then there, even though it'll be on 1 lot, it will be its own building
Oh, okay.
at that point.
That answers that. With no openings connecting the 2.
Not as we do each phase,
Sure.
because we can't put the whole block in Market Square under construction, it would be havoc. So,
But in the end, they'll.
but in the end, it will be 3 building types on 1 lot, all combined,
Yeah, so it'll be one building.
connecting
For
doors.
code purposes, it'll be one building, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, maybe different fire areas, but, yeah.
Exactly,
Okay.
but 1 building.
Then if you could move forward to the landscape plans. And so Terrence's design includes a center, a decorative ribbon, David. And so that ribbon would be constructed out of regular concrete, because it would be very difficult and costly to try to do that out of cut block and so on and so forth. So then the edges are the porous, and that's why we had the 2 under drains. But we can review that and maybe go to a specified section that helps us to stay within the existing impervious.
The ribbon is poured concrete with a form. In other words, you're pouring
Yep.
it, you're removing the forms, and then what goes on?
So you pour the middle decorative,
Oh, I
and
see.
then you pour the edge to meet it.
Stay in the center. Or,
Right.
Yeah.
Stained concrete,
Yeah. Got it.
colored concrete.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to point out?
How wide is that walkway?
Well, it varies, David. It's 10 to 6 feet. The white band is the kind of a standard stained concrete, and the grayer is the porous concrete. So the south alley is all porous concrete, all poured porous concrete. So there, the gray areas that go into the building and are at the edge of the parking garage are all the porous poured
Yeah.
concrete, not pavers.
But the narrow white part
That's-
coming off Fleet Street, how wide is that?
Well, remember, that's going to change because we
Okay.
have Gillies now.
Yeah, so it's,
So how wide are you thinking?
As wide as Haven Court. It'll go,
So 8 feet of sidewalk area?
Well, it's all sidewalk area, because, I mean, there's some planting, but it's,
Yeah.
it's at least
It was six.
Six
I think it
plus.
was 6+.
at its narrowest neck, but
Yeah.
where it's narrow now, it's expanding because of the gillies.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah, so.
So you're thinking 8 feet?
Well, it varies right now.
What do you
That
want it
plan
to be?
varies between 6 and 10 feet, so we're trying to standardize it so it's
8 feet?
8 feet is.
You want it to be 8 feet?
I'm hearing 8 feet.
I'm
I'd
hearing
like
8.
feet.
I'd like it over 8 feet.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
yeah.
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 We agree.
Yeah, and we did think about that at the, doing the loop with Eversource. There was a need for a transformer to refeed J.J. Newberry's, and we show it up there, and we've been really excited about the possibility of now putting it at the lower level on the Gillies lot, so it's more accessible.
Well, how could you not be excited about that?
Exactly. Exactly.
How long will that
Not as
concrete
exciting
stay stained?
as 8 feet, but
What's that?
Like 40 years from now, is the concrete, the color that you've stained it, you think it'll stay the same, or eventually will it all kind of fade out into one color?
Well, we've done a lot of stained concrete. It's through and through stain. It's not surface stain.
Sure,
It's
yeah.
mixed in the concrete,
Yeah.
the whole thickness.
Okay,
Does it fade in sunlight? Every color fades in sunlight.
Yeah.
So, the richness.
There is, Mark's correct about that, but because of the way the sun angles in the building there's going to be more shade
Yeah,
than
true.
the sun.
Right, yeah.
So it probably will last longer than the kind of normal full sun situation.
Yeah. Throw some marbles in it,
Yeah, exactly.
some glitter.
And then Terrence is showing some catenary lights, and we'll be giving you detailed lighting photometrics. In the cover letter, it talks about that being the developer's responsibility to install and maintain, so on and so forth. That's pretty much it. We've got the usual details, but to keep it short,
On those,
Tracy wants to say something here.
go ahead.
Did you want to touch on the average grade plane for the one entire building?
Sure. So, the one Congress building average grade plane was based on that lot, and then the average grade plane now would be, if it's one building, I guess, would have to be all the way around.
All the way around.
All the way around where the streets are, because the definition is along the street or along the facade. So interiors don't count. The lowering of Haven Court, though, brought down the average grade plane, or brings it down 3 feet or so.
Yeah, so the revised average grade plane drops several feet. As such, what was previously in compliance on one Congress is now too tall, because the average grade plane is way underground.
Because you use the lower.
You have to use the lower of
Yeah.
the existing or the proposed.
So does that
Yeah.
make your buildings too tall?
Yeah,
The previously approved one Congress, yes.
yeah. If we could use separate grade planes for each part of the building, or each, zone, CD4, CD5, it's all good. But by combining it all into one, you have to take the average, and we're on a hill, so the grade plane is in the basement.
But one Congress was approved,
It was
Correct.
previously
Already.
approved.
Correct.
so
As at law,
you're asking by joining them, does it make it come back into
Yeah.
conformance
which we don't
review?
want it to be.
No, no.
Because
Not that.
the other way would be we could leave Haven Court the way it is.
Yeah.
None of us want
I
that.
think that building, I mean, you're joining it for development purposes, but from approval standpoint, so we're not reviewing one Congress, we're reviewing the new project, which connects to one Congress, right?
Well, it's all going to be one.
Yeah.
You can choose, I think, because I'm not sure you have exact recipes to follow when you merge and combine lots on how you do all this. What we're saying is we don't want it to come back later as we're doing it one project representing we're merging and combining all the lots, to have that issue come back later after we cut down
Yep.
Haven Court.
What is the issue, that you exceed the height is that the problem?
If we do the entire block after we merge and combine both lots and cut Haven Court down.
Can you go back to the zoning plan? Because
You know how much you
Or do we,
exceed?
But the
do
Haven
we
Court-
also
the Haven
go
Court
over
works the
if
way
we
it
just
is.
cut Haven Court for one?
Either way.
If we do an average grade plane for each phase of this one building, it works.
So
Meaning two
somebody
phases.
mentioned something about the zoning, and there's two different zones. So if we were allowed to do, and the zones have different height requirements,
Yes.
right?
That's the other thing.
So if we were allowed to do the orange height requirement as average grade plane, and then the green, that would make a difference. Big difference.
As one lot, if you treat them as,
Well, there's two calculations based on the zone, because there are two different zones of height.
right, but not ours on the one Congress, didn't, we had the zoning that ended up giving us the higher height on the whole lot.
I think it was changed in the
Back had something-
process.
Yeah, the back had a different height. And
The
they
back, but it was
Back
revised.
giving The higher height.
revised it.
You revised it.
Yeah.
But you didn't touch the rest of it, so, but that, I think that would work, right? Because one Congress met that, and that would be the orange, and then the green is what you were working towards for the JJ Newbury, which is pretty much existing,
Right.
what's there now,
Except for the new cut in the back.
except for the cut in the back would change.
I have to look at that closer.
Yep. Well, yeah, let us know what you come up with and we'll review it. But it seems to me that at least as a starting point, the building that's been approved should be able to stick with the approval it got. But we'll look at it closer. Along those, not along those lines, but along the landscape design and the catenary lights, that agreement that's going to the council on the next council meeting, the 18th, speaks to a review of that public space work by Park. And so just want to bring it up, don't know when you're planning on doing that, you wouldn't want to do it too early, you don't want to do it too late, but just, and then those catenary lights would also need to be, if they're going to be up at Ladd, are they going up there too? It looked like in your drawings. they were.
Correct.
Yes.
Then you need to get agreements with the property owners there to connect them
Correct.
and all that.
Yeah, and we represented before, and we will now, if we can't get approval from private property owners, we won't be doing catenary lights in that section.
Okay.
We'll do our best efforts,
Yep.
but
Great.
we can't force a private property owner.
Great.
Peter, you do know that we went
Posts?
to Park to get, we have approvals on the wall art.
On the wall art, but not the whole concept. That agreement talks about the whole concept,
It
not
does.
just the art, but the whole concept beyond the art, which I was thinking it was just the art, but it's, when you look at it, it's everything. When you decide what everything is.
I'm aware of what you're
Okay,
saying.
all right.
Yeah. I don't know how to play its way out, but I'm aware. of it.
Yeah, just keep it, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
The word is everything.
yeah, I understand what happened.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody?
Anything else from our side? No? Good. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, I did have one question for the site review estimate. Do I have to count all the street improvements or just sort of the necessary for this lot development?
All of it.
All of it?
Well, I
Ladd
think
Street,
you're gonna-
too?
They're going to be separate, right? Whatever's related to, whatever improvements have to be made for this project.
Right, it's separate, and that's what you would base the fee on, and the Ladd Street and off-site
The
improvements.
offsite, I think it's going to be separate.
Is separate. But we would include Newbury Way in that, because that's part of this
Right.
project.
Right.
It's probably going to just end up at the 10,000.
Exactly. Thank you.
Take care, Mark.
All right, next up, we have 1980 Woodbury Ave.
Good afternoon.
Chris, are you rebuilding Three City Streets too?
That's my knowledge.
Just two.
I do have some handouts. Is it easier for you guys if I have it on big boards, or I have handouts for everybody if it's easier?
Handouts are great.
Yeah.
Different than this?
It's one of those, it's the same conceptual site plan, but I have some street views and aerial and stuff to just share and just make it a little easier.
So just two city streets?
Yeah, just to.
Just two. Oh, they're switching the orientation.
This is different from what you've given us?
No, it's the same. I
Oh,
just have
okay.
some supplemental plans, just to give you an idea of the aerial view and some street views that I just got from Google Earth. We have done a property survey. Bless you. It's about 95% complete. The only thing we have left is we're doing some underground utility locating, so we're just waiting for the firm to go out there, and then we'll update that existing conditions plan. So, Peter, do I need to wait until 3, or should I just start?
No, please.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to present today. My name is Chris Rice with TF Moran. I'm here on behalf of the owner and applicant, Colbia Enterprises LLC. With me is Mr. Jay Hall from Colbia Enterprises. We're here this afternoon to present the conceptual plan for the property located at 1980 Woodbury Ave, which is at the intersection of Woodbury Ave and Gosling Road. I've handed out a couple packets for you. It includes the conceptual site plan, an aerial plan, some street views, and I included a photo just of the Nashua store that they completed 2 years ago. They have a couple stores in New Hampshire that they've opened in the last couple of years. One is Nashua. There's one on North Broadway in Salem. Tilton, New Hampshire, if you're familiar with the Tilton Diner, the gas station right adjacent to that is slated to open in the next couple of weeks.
2 weeks.
Nice.
And we're working on one in Hudson, New Hampshire as well. So they currently own this property. The site is approximately 0.88 acres. It's located in the G1 Gateway Corridor G1 Mixed Residential District. It currently contains an existing gas station. You can kind of see it shaded underneath. That kind of square box in the middle is the convenience store portion of the gas station. It's about 1,800 square feet. And then they've got a long fueling canopy which goes east to west. On the west side, adjacent to the residential, it's about 10 feet from the property line. And that fueling canopy has 8 dispenser islands for a total of 16 fueling stations. We're proposing to redevelop the site, tear down everything that's there, and build a new 4,622 square foot gas station convenience store with a drive-through and a new fueling canopy. The fueling canopy would only have 4 dispenser islands for a total of 8 fueling stations, so half as many fueling stations as currently exist. We show 19 parking spaces on site, which includes the vehicle, the fueling station parking. The gas station use, it's my understanding that they got a variance previously for that. However, it's my understanding that the zoning's recently changed to where that's a conditional use permit now for the gas station use. I'm not sure for what we're doing relative to the gas station use, if we have to apply for a new conditional use permit, just given that it's already a gas station. I do know we need a conditional use permit, I think, for the accessory component, which is related to the drive-through, but I wasn't sure how the gas station component plays into that, if we have to ask for that as well.
I think it's basically new because you're tearing down the old one and starting over. So we would typically treat that as a new, in your case, not a variance, though, a conditional use.
Yeah, I just wanted to
Yeah.
confirm if that's the way
Yeah,
we
when
should
something
do
gets
it.
torn down, it basically is like starting from scratch.
Okay.
But it could be, you could have a list of conditional uses in your site review application.
Right, from the planning board, that's my
They will
understanding. There would
drive-through
be
and-
two, one for the use itself and one for the accessory use.
Yep.
There's also one waiver that's required, or that this plan would require from the planning board, which has to deal with allowing off-street loading and maneuvering areas within 100 feet to any adjoining residential district or mixed residential zoning district. So everything abutting our property is mixed residential, but there are residential uses to the west, just shown on one of the other plans. So I believe we need a waiver for that. There's 2 variances that I identified, which I wasn't sure of because the language is a little bit different than what's stated in the waiver, because the variances mention specifically a residential district and not a mixed residential district. So I don't know how the board or this group has applied that, because the way that the regulation reads, it says you're not allowed to have outdoor service facilities, which includes transaction windows within 100 feet of a residential district. I don't know if a mixed residential use district qualifies under that statement. It's very specific in the
Yeah.
waiver requirements, but I wanted to confirm if that is a
Good
variance.
question.
Which section is that, Chris? Is that,
In number 3, and the second one in number 3, which section in the ordinance?
I believe it's 10.830,
42.
835.31. And the other one is very similar to that, where it mentions no stacking lanes or bypass lanes within a certain distance of the property line or separated from a residential district. Similarly, it's a mixed residential district, but I assume that the same.
And then in the site review regs, it talks about the drive-through from residential uses, it says.
Okay.
So that's another one that I don't have it.
That would be an additional variance?
Well, it's in the site review regs, so it might be a waiver.
Maybe a waiver.
Yeah.
I might have missed that one, I apologize.
I think 8531, the residential zoning district wouldn't apply, but the 50 feet from any lot line, if it's within that.
Okay. And as you know, with a small site, everything is a little tight together. The pickup window itself, which is on the south end of the building, is about 75 feet from the property line. However, the order board and the speaker box would be closer than the 50 that we're talking about. If you're looking at the midpoint of the proposed building to the left, that midpoint of the building is about 40 feet from the lot line to the left, just to help give you some dimensions.
Do you know what the drive-through use is?
Dunkin' Donuts is right to the south of us. They already have
Yeah.
a drive-through.
Yep.
Some of their other stores, they have varying tenants. So some of the ones we've done have been Dunkin'. They do their own proprietary brand, which is Corner Market Cafe,
With the drive-through?
with a drive.
With the drive-through. Yeah, and with the Dunkin' next door, it's virtually, you can almost be assured Dunkin' Donuts is not going to allow the geographic conflict to have
Right.
another one come right in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've done different donut shop tenants down in Rhode Island and Southern Mass. It's Honeydew, South Shore of Boston, Mary Lou's Donuts. We have our own brand that we've done in a couple of our New Hampshire locations. Don't think it would be a Dunkin', though.
The Tilton site.
Not
just
the
to-
Moe's. I was
yeah.
thinking the Moe's would stay there, but
That'd be great.
It can vary. The Tilton store has a Subway with a
Subway,
drive-through.
yeah.
With a
Subway.
drive-through window.
Yeah.
They don't do a ton of business through the drive-through. I think it was 200 sandwiches a week
Yeah,
or something like
it's
that.
not a
but-
ton through the drive-through, because people just aren't used to seeing a Subway with a drive-through. We're hoping that eventually they will, but usually the Subway doesn't do gangbusters. Candidly, what does do gangbusters is Dunkin'. But
yeah. We know that.
because of the geographic conflict, I don't
Yeah.
see it happening here.
Yes, we just wanted to get everybody's feedback, see what you thought of the plan. Obviously, we know our next step would probably be to go to ZBA for the variance relief, but we wanted to see if there were any other comments or suggestions we should try to incorporate into the plan.
Just in terms of the site layout, it looks pretty tight. Are you pretty much as far towards Woodbury as you can get? Just making more, it looks like it's tight in the back for the drive-through especially. The drive-through is a challenge there.
Yeah.
But I imagine you probably can't go any further towards Woodbury.
It would be hard, only because of the circulation, and not that it's that often, but to be able to get the fueling trucks in, to
Yep.
be able to drop the fuel, drives a lot of that.
Yep.
So it almost looks like wasted space, but generally, rather than have the fueling trucks between the store and the canopy, we've got to keep them to the outside. Now, we've got tanks sort of away and keep them sort of out of the fray, if you will. But if they've got to circulate the site, we've got to keep enough room for it.
The proposed tanks are generally in the location as the existing. You can kind of see it, kind of that box underneath. They're orientated a little bit differently, but they're in roughly the same location. The curb cut along Gosling Road, we have cut back a little bit by about 25 feet because it's a bit of a wide open expanse there. There's a chance we might be able to tighten a little bit up on the drive aisles. I know that they like to keep roughly 30 feet just to allow for easy maneuvering, or if you got to get by a car to get to the next fueling station. But we can take a look to see if we might be able to shift it a foot or two, but we wouldn't
Yeah,
be able to do.
might help you on your variance. Show them that you moved it for that reason. And the tanks have to come out, the old tanks?
Old tanks are coming out.
Yep.
They don't, I'd have to look at the date on them. I don't think they have to, but we will.
Yep.
We will take them out. Yeah.
And all their new sites, they use state-of-the-art equipment, double-wall tanks. They take great care of their sites that they operate. They're a 60-year-old family-run business. All their stores are operated with company employees, and they're not franchised. And they offer both diesel and regular fuel.
So the dumpster looks like it's going to be a challenge to empty with those lanes. They have enough room with, if they just use the bypass lane?
I think they do. We can take a little bit of a look at that. If we shift things around a little bit, we can give a little bit more room, but I think that's enough for what they currently do.
Which is the parking. And you're counting the spaces. I think we let them do that at Common
I'm trying to
Man.
remember.
The Common Man, we let them count the spaces under the canopy, I believe, yeah. What's your parking requirement?
14 is the requirement. We have 11 along the face of the building, and then we've got 8 at the fueling canopy.
And you can't put parking where the tanks are, probably.
You could potentially do employee parking sometimes.
You
but-
could. There's nothing to prevent it. They're all drivable. It's nothing really to prevent it. We would discourage it, just in case somebody were to park there and we're getting a
Truck shows
delivery.
up. Yep.
Try to time the deliveries non-peak hours. But there's nothing to prevent it.
On your zoning analysis, you should probably include the building type for commercial building, small commercial building.
Okay.
You might need other relief.
So specifically list the small commercial building on that chart there.
Yeah.
Is there anything that jumped out at you, Peter, that we might?
Well, I mean, like the setbacks are 0 to 20 max, and you're going to be outside of that.
Okay.
And then the other was
Was it front lot build out?
well, yeah, that pertains to the front lot line build out. You're supposed to be within that front setback. That's 10.5B 3320.
Oh, and the parking in front of the building, right?
Yeah.
Between the building and the street?
I'm sorry.
Where is that one called out? So there's a restriction against parking between the building and the street. That might need a variance.
Um, 10.5B 83.10.
This is 83.10.
Yeah.
This might be for development sites.
And have you typically counted things such as canopies as in that requirement, or is it just the actual
We
building?
talked about that. Typically not, but it is a canopy there, so I don't know. It's not the principal building, so. That was throughout.
Yeah, I guess it is. That one.
So take a look at that 10.583B, 10.5B83.10.
And the other one was 10.5.B33.20, right?
Yep.
And what about the accessory structure being closer to the street?
In the development?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
No EV stations, huh?
We don't currently have them planned for this location because it's so tight. We have put them in a few of our other New Hampshire locations, but right now we don't have them planned for this, only because we're already tight on parking, and the circulation's rough as it is, so we're trying to limit the uses.
Chris, the southern limits of the site, you're actually showing widening the driveway out where the fire hydrant and the utility pole is. That can't happen.
Right at the southeast corner here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Deal with that. City also has a project to put 8-foot sidewalks in up and down Woodbury Avenue, so it will require you to do that, fit your landscaping in accordingly. The curb line would stay in the same spot, the sidewalk would be 8 feet instead of 5 feet.
Just on the Woodbury side?
The other side's already been done, it was reconstructed as part of a federal project. So-
Yeah, I just didn't know if that
So
meant
the drive,
8 feet
so
or-
where you're expanding or narrowing the driveway, you'd have to expand that existing concrete sidewalk there.
And that 8-foot sidewalk, can that be within the right-of-way, or does it have to be all on?
Oh, sure, yeah, yep,
And that's concrete, right?
yep.
We have asphalt out there now.
Are the two snow piles shown, are those proposed or existing locations?
Those were existing.
Oh. So the one in the drive-through aisle might have to be placed somewhere else?
Picked up by the surveyor.
The snow pile,
That might be
might be hard to drive through with that snow pile.
So-
And where do they, if they get something at the drive-through, but they have to wait for it? Is there a place for them?
It's usually at the window. There's not a
They
secondary.
just stay at the window till they get what they got?
Correct, yeah. It's not a what I've only ever heard called a secondary service area for a drive-through. We don't do that.
Is there any requirement from the fire department on that bypass lane in the back? I've got a drive-through and a bypass. That total width in that location is 20 feet. That includes both right now, basically a 10-foot drive lane and then a 10-foot bypass.
If we can get around the front of it, it's a smaller building, as long as we can access one side or the other. So we want to see a turning template with our apparatus,
Okay.
either probably the front.
Wait, do you know which direction you would probably be coming from? Just so I run it the right way?
I would run it both ways, but Station 3, that's in District 3, so come down Gosling Road,
Okay.
where,
There's a median island in front of it on Woodbury Ave, so you wouldn't be crossing.
yeah. Yeah, so just do it from Gosling.
Coming from the west.
Yes,
Yeah.
yep.
I could certainly show one coming, well, I'm not doing Woodbury because of the island, right? Is that?
Right.
Is the dumpster, can you put the setback on there for, this is a 10-foot setback,
For the dumpster?
the dumpster from the lot line.
Okay. I think it's 5 feet now, but we can look this shit up. If not, is that a waiver request or is that a variance?
That's in the zoning, so that's a variance. There might be one in the site plan, that could be a waiver. but might be-
I'll try to meet that
Yeah.
requirement.
Might need to fill at the back of the building, just to make everything work. There's really a 10-foot setback for the dumpster. It's gonna really be in that lane, hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else? Anybody else have any questions?
I don't know if you guys would have a recommendation if we should look to make some of these updates come back before you, or do you think it's better to just make those revisions, go to ZBA, and then come back to you?
Probably go to Board of Adjustment first.
Board of
yeah.
Adjustment first, and then back to TAC?
Yeah, I think we gave you everything you need from here.
Okay. Okay. Peter, I might share the plan with you as we make some tweaks,
Sure,
just to
yeah.
make sure.
Yeah, if you have questions, we
Yeah,
can
definitely
follow up.
follow
Okay.
Definitely do that.
Well, I appreciate everybody's time and input. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very
for allowing
much.
us to present.
Welcome, yeah.
I'm sure I'll bother you guys at some point.
All right, yeah, no problem.
Okay, good luck.
Thanks.
All right, we're all set for this meeting.